So the first thing I do is I diagram out my colorways. In this case, for the Midnight Blue Nebula, I want a palindrome dye application with a low water table. If that doesn't mean anything to you, look on YouTube for 8 ways to kettle dye, and it talks all about the different dye applications. So it starts with Midnight Blue, then on either side of that, Brilliant Violet, then Hot Purple on either side of that, etc., etc. And the way I figured that out is I look at the reference image, and then I look for the yellow that's in the reference image. In this case, it would be Fluorescent Lemon, and I use Chem's Hot Pink and Rhodamine Red, which are right here and right here. And I love Midnight Blue because it's much better than navy. Navy bleeds red, whereas this one is almost black. It's so dark at 3%. Since we want a 4% degree of strength, that's 4 grams of dye. I mix citric acid with my dye stock. Now we mix our dye stock. So I've got my skeins wetted out. And I want as low, there's no water table in this, they're just damp. Because if I had a higher water table and I put all these colors in, the violet would start to creep up the side and it would muddy the yellow, same with the pink and the green. So I want this just to be damp, and I'm going to paint the color in order. Now, normally with my other hand, I massage the dye in so we don't get white patches on the back. So it's always important to check the back side and make sure that there are no white patches, especially in a colorway like this. If it's going to be 4% degree of strength each color, and then the person goes to knit it, and on the back side it's white, they're not going to be happy with the way the colorway turns out. Now we're going to speckle it with black. I like washfast black from Chem. It's the darkest black and it doesn't split or turn into brown. And there is our Rainbow Nebula yarn. This is on Aran weight cashmere from Wool to Die For. We're going to put a lid on, and into the proofer it goes for 2 hours. Is all cool now, so I'm just going to check and see that all the dye was absorbed. This is typical of any hot pink to have a little bit left. So what we're going to do is throw some citric acid and some textile detergent. This is Synthropol. You can get it from Dharma, Chem. Just Google it, Synthrapol. And it's a special textile detergent that grabs excess dye that didn't get bonded and pulls it out. And we're just gonna grab these, and in it goes. Now that this has had a good soak, we're gonna rinse all of the soap off, and into the washer it goes on the drain and rinse site. Time to twist up all the skein. And finally we get to wind it and knit swatches. Here's our knit swatch. And finally, I take this recipe right here and I translate it into my digital dye notebook. I took this course from Alana over at Spinny Buns, and hold on, here we go. I highly recommend it. Everything I need, the color application sequence, the dye used, my notes, colors, pictures of the swatches, plus she gives you a lot of ratios and formulas that I can't show because they're protected information. So if you want to translate all of your written patterns like this into a digital dye notebook, I highly, highly recommend it. And that, folks, is the beginning, middle, and end of creating a colorway.